In New Mexico, drugs are pretty rampant. If you've ever seen Breaking Bad, it's accurate. It's not a tall tale. So I remember going to school as a junior in high school, all tweaked out on meth.
How awesome is meth? I mean, it must be awesome if people get addicted to it so much.
It's half as good as you expect it to, but it does a really good job of building that expectation. I think that's probably one of the things that helped me the most in overcoming that addiction is really feeling the physical effects and being like, I worked so hard for this. How could you ever destroy, how could you? It's crazy.
You got into drugs at a pretty young age from what I remember.
Yeah, that was probably one of the first things I got into was drugs.
How old were you?
Oh, I started smoking pot early in high school, and I said, in New Mexico, drugs are pretty rampant. If you've ever seen Breaking Bad, it's accurate. Like that's not I mean, it's fictional, but it's not a tall tale. That's how it is. And so, I mean, I remember I had a job at Arby's as a sophomore in high school, and that was where I first found methamphetamine from the cook. And so I remember going to school as a junior in high school, all tweaked out on meth, trying to go to football practice after. So yeah, drugs were early for me, and it was.
How awesome is meth?
Meth is terrible, man.
I mean, it must be awesome if people get addicted to it so much. Like, what's the like elation, or what does it make you feel like if people get so addicted to it?
Really, I think the best way to describe it is it's like half as good. It's half as good as you expect it to, but it does a really good job of building that expectation that this is going to be a lot of fun. And then as you start, so you continuously chase that, but you're only half as high. And then when you get ready to stop, it's 3 times as bad as you think it is. And then and you're able to, the thing I think that gets people the most is with methamphetamine, you're able to go for like a week, whereas like, first off, with cocaine, you'd probably run out of money, and it's too overwhelming physically and mentally. You can't last that long. Your body will overstimulate and pass the fuck out. Mm-hmm. But with methamphetamine, I mean, you can easily fall into living a lifestyle for weeks at a time where you're staying up all night and just doing crazy shit, and your brain chemistry just changes ever so slightly as those days go by, and so by the end, you're having crazy hallucinations, and people are talking to you through the door because you're running literally on chemicals you find under your bathroom sink. There's no food, there's no water, there's no, minerals, there's no electrolytes, there's no nothing in your brain or your body, and you're just running on this, phosphorus and amphetamine. It's pretty wild shit. And that's why, you see the malnutrition physically so bad after like a week or so, people's teeth start falling, not a week, but after a while, people's teeth start falling out, and the skin, the hair, the nails, you just see the nutritional deficits. I think that's probably one of the things that helped me the most in overcoming that addiction is really feeling the physical effects and being like, God, I worked so hard for this. How could you ever destroy, how could you? It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And it just sinks its teeth into people, and that's it. It's scary, scary stuff.
Yeah. Nowadays, you don't even want to do a workout without a meal. Right?
Yeah, no. And I mean, a lot of times, I think initially when I started bodybuilding and training like this, it really saved me. Like I was I was on probation, and I was going to the gym, and finally seeing that I had control over something of my own and like something to better myself. Because at that time, I mean, I've been in jail. I'm 20 or some shit. I've been in jail. I got an ankle bracelet on. And people are like, my peers are going to college and having families and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, what the fuck? I just really fucked myself over. I'm just stuck here now. And bodybuilding was like an immediate boom. No, you're not stuck. You're bigger, you're stronger, you're faster now. No, you're not stuck. You feel good, you're moving forward. And that attitude really helped me to get through those initial weeks and months of, really just monotony, trying to find a normal job and, live and pay your apartment bill, stuff like that. And so it really saved me. Of course, now it's blossomed to so many other things, but initially, bodybuilding saved my life. Training every day saved my life. It helped me to stay in there and keep going.
Yeah. Do you sometimes feel like you traded one addiction for another?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've come to terms with that a lot because I feel like one of the things I experienced through all this is that I feel like some people are addicts and some people are not. Some people have the propensity to rely on stimulus on a deeper level than others. I think other people get really uncomfortable when something stimulates them at a level higher than they're really comfortable with, or something takes away the control from their faculties. I laugh at it like this, like girls, my wife, for example, she doesn't like smoking pot because it makes her nervous. It makes her like all nervous and antsy, and she doesn't feel like I have some control. And I'm like, man, anytime I've ever taken something to feel like, whoa, I'm out of control, rock on, let's go, show me. And so I think that's really one of the bigger differences between an addict and a not is I'm really not that uncomfortable being out of control. It actually helps me because chaos is in my brain a lot of times. I feel like I can't control that. So, But so in doing that, yeah, I feel like I've accepted that I'm the kind of person that has an addictive personality. And honestly, I thrive on being addicted to training. Like, so what? I'm addicted to training. I'm addicted to being a better person than I was yesterday. And if I mean, I just kind of turned it into an asset, if you will. If I'm addicted to it and I'm able to form that habit, sure, I have to be careful of the fact that I form habits really easily and they can be good or bad, but that also means I can form a habit as long as I see there's a benefit to it. So I found a benefit in everything I do over there, and it kind of helped me.
So you've gotten your labs done, whether it's 6 months ago or a year ago, and you want to know where things are at, but you don't want to get a full panel again. That's why I've partnered with Merrick Health, owned by Derek for More Plates, More Dates, and we have something called the Checkup Panel. This is an affordable panel with 55 different labs that will allow you to see all those different biomarkers, and you can get this channel every month or every 2 months, whatever frequency you like, but it'll give you all the specific labs that you want to know so that you can make sure that you're moving in the right direction for your specific hormones. Andrew, how can they get their hands on it?
Yes, that's over at marek.health.com/power project. That's MAREK health.com/power project. There you guys will see our checkup panel. Load that into your cart, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off of that panel. Again, marek.health.com/power project. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
I'm curious about like your early years of serious bodybuilding training, right? Because you do a lot of stuff when you train now, but what are some things that you think maybe you would have trained or a way you would have trained differently, things you would have just like changed in the way you were training when you were younger?
Oh gosh, there's so much. I try not to think about it too much because you'll just sit there and tear apart what you used to do, right? And it's the
You
journey.
could be 325 right now.
Yeah, exactly. The journey is really the beauty. But I mean, I definitely would have paid a little bit more attention to the body mechanics. I feel like I started training and then I learned anatomy and body mechanics as a result of that, and in a way to further my training. Whereas if I would have studied that prior or at the very beginning, I probably wouldn't have had to use it to overcome obstacles. I probably would have used it to put myself in a better position.
Yeah.
So like all my stretching and ART stuff, I would have started that a little earlier, and I would have been more open to different things. I feel like it's taken, when I started, it was just kind of like, no, I'm just here for this. I'm just going to bodybuild. And now it's like I've taken some stuff from yoga. I've taken some stuff from a lot of the athletic stuff, wrestling. Brazilians are super smart people. And so the jiu-jitsu stuff that I've learned as far as taking care of your body and staying mobile and being strong in that mobility, like I would have never listened to any of that stuff before. I would have stuck to my big water jug full of aminos and just squatted all day, shit like that. But to see how everything works, the body, fitness, life in general, really, but the body and the fitness world, everything works together to produce, what we're all looking for is the epitome of physical capability, right? We're looking for the paramount of that. And you can't get that from just one angle. And I would have been much more diverse early on.
It is pretty cool, like having lifted with you yesterday and Mark lifted with you today, but like seeing the way you move through a lot of these movements, you have a really large range of motion for being such a big guy. You move extremely well. Was it always that way, or did you, like, again, as you started focusing on mobility and other things, did it change the way you move?
When I was, like, for example, when I was here 4 years ago, I keep thinking back to that squat day we had. Like, I remember before I did that, the big ass squat, I was like running and jumping around the gym. And granted, I was younger then, I guess, and I wasn't quite as big, but when I started to see that level of mobility kind of go down, that's when I got more and more serious about it. So like as I was younger, I really never had those issues. Like my elbows didn't hurt. I didn't really get my shoulders internally rotated for a good while. I never had problems with my hips or my knees, but as I've put more muscle on, I've realized how much more of that work I need to stay as mobile as I want. But, guys like O'Hearn really, as much as I don't like to give that guy credit for anything besides his Botox, guys like him, O'Hearn's he's an amazing athlete, and the things that he's done to maintain that level of mobility, I learned that from him. He's mobile because he wants to be, because he trains himself to be that way. And so like a lot of the movements I do, I insist on that level of mobility so that you can continue it. I feel like that's one of the biggest things, guys. Like I know some guys that can't get their arms on the bar to squat. And I'm like, well, and I know powerlifters sometimes have a reason for that tension and strength in their stuff, but I'm sorry, man, you got to be able to put the hands on the bar when you're squatting. If you're calling yourself an athlete, like I just believe that. I really do.